Hi everyone, it's Justine. Last time we discussed how to recognize woven versus knitted fabrics and their weight. But in fact, you can weave or knit any type of fiber. You can take natural ones only, synthetic ones only, or you can work with a mix of both natural and synthetic fibers. I will show you in this video different types of natural fibers to start with. Next time we'll do the synthetic ones, and you will see how different they look and feel. Crazy. Let's go. The first one is cotton. Cotton can be found ready to use in nature, you would think. But in fact, when you get the raw material from the cotton plant, it still needs a lot of work before you can actually make a garment out of it. Cotton is really rough, really dirty, and full of little things that need to be taken out of it. It needs to be cleaned, combed, it can be mercerized to make it more absorbent, and it also absorbs dyes much better later if you want to dye it. Cotton is a very rough raw material. It really needs to be processed in order to give you good quality fabric. Cotton that hasn't been processed properly makes crappy fabric. It's not very shiny, it's not particularly drapey on the body. It belongs to the fibers that are rather on the stiffer side. It needs to be taken care of very well because it's not so stable, so it will tend to shrink when you wash it over time. But it is a good absorbent, and by absorption we mean the moisture that's in the air around you, or also the sweat that you generate as a human. Absorption is an important characteristic in fabrics, and cotton is rather good at that. This blue thing is a mid-weight cotton woven. It's a bit too heavy for a woman's shirt, but it is opaque, so it could be used for a bottom or for a tailored cocktail dress because it's heavy enough. See, if I put it on my finger, it doesn't really fall nicely. It's a bit stiff. This one is a very fine, lightweight cotton fabric, knitted this time. The surface is extra smoothened and it's knitted very tightly, so you can't see through it, even though it's only 130 grams. If you ask me, that's as good as cotton gets. That is excellent fabric. Linen is a natural fiber that also comes from a plant called flax. It is more shiny, more lustrous than cotton, and also more resistant. The main problem with linen is that it wrinkles like crazy. Look here, if I press it together, just a few seconds, the folds will stay. Same thing if you sit on your linen garment. When you get up, it's all wrinkled at the back. Imagine that you wash that linen fabric in a washing machine, so you add water to the pressure, mechanical pressure. It will come out completely folded and wrinkled, really, really bad, and you need a while every time to bring it back into shape, pull on it, give it its shape back, and then iron it. That's why many garments say dry clean only. That's actually to avoid water and its wrinkling effect, because linen is so bad at that. But actually linen fiber is perfectly washable. Mummies in ancient Egypt were wrapped in cotton and linen because those are two fibers known at that time that are stiff and well absorbent. Wool actually means sheep hairs or lamb hairs. If you're talking about other animals' hairs, like a cashmere goat, an Angora rabbit, or camel hair, etc., then you'd say specialty hairs, not wool. Wool is warm because the little hairs cross each other and get tangled. You see it here on that pink one very well, the others are a bit finer. Between the hairs, air is retained and heats up. All those swatches are wool, some finer, some thicker, but you always have this kind of heather effect when you touch it. Wool works even better if the air around you is wet. Then it absorbs that moisture and releases heat. That's why it's perfect to keep the sheep warm. The main problem of wool is if you shake it while it's wet and hot, it will shrink like no other fiber on earth can. Wool can peel if the yarns aren't good quality. So it's very hard to see in advance while you're shopping for the sweater before you wash it. If you see a sweater that's really cheap, probably the wool is not that good, rule of thumb, but there are also expensive sweaters that are cheap wool quality, which is a pain. So when you see little fibers sticking out of the main yarn, unless the yarns have been brushed to make them extra fluffy, it can mean that the yarn hasn't been spun properly and that it might peel. But really it's hard to see. So when you shop online, have a look at the reviews. If somebody bought a sweater and it started to peel after just 3 washes, they will be angry enough to write a negative review. But wool does not wrinkle, and that's a nice part when you wear it. Silk is produced by little worms, so they build filaments, just like spiders, and those filaments are turned into yarns that are super long, shiny, flexible, and that don't peel. Silk does not peel, you won't see little balls appearing at the surface like for wool. The thing about silk is that it's very expensive. This is raw silk, woven. The fibers haven't been cleaned, so to speak, so it has a slightly waxy touch, which I like a lot. You don't see this everywhere. This is silk that has been cleaned, so it's shinier. It has also been woven as satin, so that's the wrong side, but the correct side is even shinier. That's the side you put up, the side other people see. This fabric is called silk satin, and that's usually what people expect when you say silk. This is silk georgette. It has a very nice texture. It's very drapey. It is actually one of my favorites, but frankly, it's not the easiest thing to sew. Silk is not recommended for beginners. The worst to sew, though, is probably silk chiffon. It's extremely thin and see-through. If you go with the needle through it, it makes a hole, so you're not allowed to make any mistake. You can't go back. It's beautiful on an evening gown with 10 meters of fabric behind you. You can layer it up to create an opaque garment, but in itself it's really see-through. So far we had cotton, linen, wool and silk, the 4 traditional natural fibers. Linen is the most resistant and the most absorbent, but it wrinkles like crazy. Silk folds very nicely and is very drapey, very fine, but it's super expensive and it's not so resistant. Wool wrinkles the least, but shrinks the most. And cotton is okay, medium everywhere, with a tendency to shrink. It can be very frustrating because none of those fibers is perfect. There is always a weakness somewhere. So we have 2 possible options. The first one is to mix those natural fibers with synthetic ones to compensate for the weaknesses and balance the fabric out, so to speak, which is the solution often used in the industry. And I'm a big fan of fabric mixes, by the way. And the second option is to keep developing natural sources of fibers that you can make good fabric from. So let's start with that. Viscose is a man-made fiber. So you extract a raw material from eucalyptus, pine or bamboo, so basically from wood, and then through a process you turn that raw material into solid sheets of cellulose, which you later make yarns from. That's the short story. It's a lot of chemistry behind that. It's a very complex process, but from wood you get yarns. So viscose is a natural thing. You just don't find it like you find cotton by opening the cotton plant. Viscose is a good alternative to silk. It looks like silk, it drapes well, and it can be very shiny, so you have all the advantages. It's also cheaper than silk, so a viscose garment will be more affordable. It absorbs better than cotton and it feels great on the skin. The only problem of viscose is that the fibers that get extracted, the resulting material you use to make the yarns, is shorter than the fibers of cotton, so technically the strength of viscose is lower. That's the only thing. Which is why the viscose process can be modified to get longer fibers, and the resulting fibers of that improved process are longer, stronger and more flexible, and that's called MODAL. The beige fabric in my current collection on the top and the t-shirt is MODAL. It's very drapey, as you can see. This is also MODAL, knitted, it's lightweight and it's compact, it feels great. MODAL is like cotton, but better. It absorbs better, it breathes better. The only thing it doesn't solve is that it also wrinkles, just like cotton does. But not as bad as linen, that's for sure. MODAL is often used to create lightweight fabrics for lightweight garments because it is quite drapey and very flexible. So if you use that in lightweight fabrics, you get the most out of it. And then we have LYOCELL. It's sometimes called Tencel. Tencel is a trademark, so it's a brand of LYOCELL from Austria, so next door. LYOCELL also gets extracted from wood, but in a process that's different versus MODAL and viscose, and the result is the best strength resistance of the 3 cellulosic fibers. LYOCELL is a bit less absorbent than viscose, but still better than cotton. The black t-shirt and the black top in my collection are in LYOCELL by Tencel. This is Tencel, very nice and compact, knitted. This one too, but here the surface almost feels like fine wool. It has a little bit of a heather effect. It's really cozy. The advantage of the cellulosic fibers, viscose, MODAL, Tencel, those are the 3 main ones, but there are also others. is that in the production process, you're extremely flexible and you can do whatever you want. How much luster do you want? Which finishing you want on the surface? You can also choose from very lightweight to very heavyweight. The range, the scope is huge. Very creative material. And technically, anything you can make cellulose of can be turned into a yarn. So mushrooms, milk, those already exist. Recycled things can be turned into cellulose, so you can make yarns out of them. That's all the future, but it will come. That's it for the main natural fibers, at least. Next time we'll look into synthetic fibers, what they're good at. I'll show you examples of fabric mixes and different types of fabrics that are really creative that you probably don't see anywhere else. Thumbs up if you enjoyed hearing about fibers and seeing concrete examples at the same time, and subscribe to this channel to follow the series. I upload every Wednesday and Sunday, so see you very soon. And until next time, take care. Bye.